All right, we're going to let some folks get in here. Um, I see that the attendees are starting to come in now through the wait list. Really appreciate everybody attending. I'm going to give a few minutes to get in. I hope that everyone had better luck than me with Zoom today because mine was it was a work in progress. We'll leave it at that. But we'll give everybody a few minutes to get in. For those I've not had an opportunity to meet, my name is Mike Lowe. I'm the Executive Director of the Service Academy Career Conference. And today we have Tommy Jones here with us from Neighborly. And we're very excited to have Neighborly here to talk about franchising and your pathway to business ownership. So just a few more minutes and we'll get started. All right, Tommy, I'm going to go ahead and let you kick this off here in a second, and I'll monitor the participants so I can let them in as they come through. So welcome, everyone. As I said, Neighborly is here today. For those of you not familiar with Neighborly, it's the world's largest network of home service brands. I've been in the franchising business for over 40 years, 19 different brands and over 5,500 plus franchises across the U.S. So if you have a desire to start your own business, but find the process too daunting to take it out on your own, to do it, or you just want the help, or you think that, the franchising route is right for you, you are 1,000% in the right place. And with that, Tommy, I will pass it over to you to lead the webinar.
All right, awesome. So nice to see you all, and I'm really happy to be here. Thanks, Mike, so much. And Mike, thank you for your service. Go Army, beat Navy. So I'm going to hold that against you real quick. But so nice to be here. Really want to welcome you all, and like Mike said, Neighborly is a tremendous organization. Provides great opportunities for franchising, and my goal here today is to really give you a high level overview of what franchising is, how do you get involved, learn a little bit more detailed about Neighborly and how passionate they are about helping service members and their families. So a little bit about me, Tommy Jones. As you know, I called out Mike about being a Navy veteran. So I'm a 20-year Army veteran. That's one of the biggest things that I've found that I miss about military service is the camaraderie and the talking trash amongst other branches. It's been just a great post-career since I've got out of the military. So I retired again in 2013. Had the opportunity to transition out and join the Verizon team. I ran their military programs, started out with recruiting, then ran their enterprise strategy. I did that for about 10 and a half years. And then I went over to Walmart, worked with Walmart about 18 months doing the same type of work. And then most recently, I've been working with Zero Mills and Neighborly, and it's been extremely rewarding. So I really want to share some of my transitioning tips and some of my experience, and really my goal here today is above and beyond, educating you on how great opportunities are in the franchising and business ownership space, is to really let you understand like the transferable skills, breaking down some of the myths and stereotypes about this space. I will be the first to tell you that I was completely ignorant to anything outside of looking for a job when I was getting out of the military. It didn't even come across any of this. I think there's 4 different pathways that you can consider yourself as you're starting to get out of the military, or even if it's, you know, down the road and you realize, hey, I'm kind of stuck in a company, or I'm stuck doing what I want to do, and I've always had a passion for doing things. You get a great opportunity to really kind of look at what other opportunities are available. And so when I think about that, you have 1, obviously you have employment opportunities. 2, education, continuing education, certifications, different things like that. 3, either starting a business, buying a business, starting a franchise, acquiring a franchise, there's many pathways to success post-military service. And then the fourth one, I think, is something that, a lot of people don't consider or talk about, but it's really continuing to serve and continue to find your purpose. And that's really where Neighborly and I align perfectly. They have great values. They care deeply about society. They care deeply about, serving the community. And they really, really are passionate about veterans and their families. And not only because it's a good thing to do or the right thing to do, it's good business. We've had shown complete success in veterans that have joined into the franchising space, and this all started with Don Dwyer, who was an Air Force veteran in the Korean War, came back and in the early '90s started VetFran and created that for prosperity and growth for service members to be successful post-military service. He found that, owning a business is something that veterans do really well, and are very successful. And they're even more successful when they follow a proven franchise model. So, couple other things before we get into the presentation. Just want to break down some of the myths and stereotypes of franchising. I again was ignorant to franchising as a whole, and if you would have asked me 6 months ago or 8 months ago if I would ever talk to a service member about franchising, I'd probably be the first person to tell you no, that's just something I wouldn't be comfortable talking about because I didn't know what I didn't know. And I was pleasantly surprised to learn so much about the process, and how great of an opportunity it is to continue and create generational wealth for you and your family. So some of the myths I'd like to ask, is like, I tell people, raise your hand if you think, franchising is just retail. And most of the time, about 75 to 85% of the people raise their hand and say, "Oh, I didn't know that home services was an option." I ask, how much money do you need to start? And they always think it's over $250,000 or, $500,000. And that's just the furthest thing from the truth. I ask, do you know that you can own the business 100%? You're just financing the franchise fee, and you're just using the established brands that are already there. And most people don't think that that is possible. And then in some cases, you don't own 100% of the franchise. But in the case of Neighborly, this is your business. You own it. This is all the supporting cast that kind of comes behind it. And then the last thing I like to talk about is certifying your business as a veteran-owned business. When you own 51% of your business, you have the ability to certify your business as either a veteran-owned business, the service disabled veteran-owned business, and that allows you a lot more flexibility in some of the customer or contracts that you might want to try to win as you're leading a business. So I'll continue on here, but really excited to be here. I think you're going to enjoy learning a lot about this, and I can guarantee you that I'm going to dispel some of the myths that you thought you knew about it. So we're going to start here, kicking off with a short video, tell you all about Neighborly. All right. So make sure I was on mute. So with obviously over 40 years of experience, these are some of the brands that we have. I'll talk a little bit more detail on them on the next slide, but we're the largest home services company in the world. Neighborly delivers premium service experience to millions of customers across homes and businesses each year. 19 industry leading franchises brands in North America. And I kind of hit on the founder of Don Dwyer, an Air Force veteran, its connection to the military community. And I'm sure that you've probably seen some of these brands. You probably didn't know that Neighborly was the enterprise that oversaw all of these brands. And I'll kind of walk you through how that support works and how they fall underneath each one of these verticals a little bit. So starting out with a little glance at Neighborly and who we are. With over 10 million customers served annually, there's thousands of franchise owners, hundreds and thousands of properties maintained. Neighborly is a powerful, stable network designed to support entrepreneurs. Veterans have been an important part of that process. So we talked about the 32 brands internationally, 19 service verticals, over 5,500 plus franchise locations all throughout the United States and globally. And one thing I'd like to call out is we have over 450 of those franchises are owned by veterans. And they're some of the largest producing veterans franchises in the company. They do extremely well. 2,000 plus Neighborly associates. And so when I think about Neighborly associates, that's not the companies underneath the 19 brands. That is your supporting cast of personnel that are supporting you from an HR to a marketing to development of your business. You know, everything that you need to be successful as a business owner without having to do it all by yourself. So think about you decide you want to open up a business, and one of the things you have to do is start from scratch, create a business plan, understand what the market looks like. Well, all of that's done for you in a business in a box with Neighborly. You can see the credibility that we have with 14 plus million customers. Of that, about 4.2 of those millions are active customers. And well, how do we define active customers? Those that have been actively using our database or our services in the last 3 years. And you're like, well, that's a lot of time. But if you think about it, this is a service industry. And if you think about the HVAC or plumbing, most customers don't call every day to one of those services. So that's kind of where the scale is. Now we have a diversity of brands, and some of them are daily. Some of those are biweekly. So it all depends on which vertical and brand you're at. But there is definitely a lot going on in this space, and it's something you'll really enjoy learning a little bit more about. So there's 1.5 million properties serviced annually, and over 4.1 billion in sales. So let's talk about what is franchising. Let's define it in simply, franchising means you own your own business, but you're not starting from scratch. You heard me say that a few times. You get a blueprint, a support team, a trusted brand. You operate independently while being backed by a system built for you to help you win. It's not as simple. It's as simple as that. I think when people start thinking about franchises, they think there's some gimmick or some catch. It really isn't that case. It really is the opportunity for you to take a proven business model and just operate that and follow the SOP. What I like to tell service members, and this really kind of resonates with them, is you can add to, but don't take away. Follow the process to a T. If you want to add to that process in the franchising space, by all means, but don't take away. The reason I said that is because it's been proven over and over again to work. So you can add to it and expand and use your experience to expand to it, but don't take away from it. And you're almost guaranteed success. So why consider franchise ownership? Out of the possible ways to be your own business owner, owning a franchise tends to be a more structured option. Typically, franchise set out a path up for you, and risk factors will be accounted for. If you think franchising is a great fit for service members, well, you're absolutely right. It's extremely rewarding. They're very great at successfully following systems, thinking through leadership and perseverance. Gives you the control to own your own future, the ability to build wealth, and the chance to create meaningful community impact in establishing business systems. So when I think about Neighborly as a whole, like they've invested not only in business entrepreneurship, but in the whole military ecosystem. So what does that mean? That means that they want their owners to be completely embedded and thriving um, in their communities. They want service members to be able to give back and truly be that first responder again in serving their communities. But at the same time, like I said, making an impact. And so some of those things could be included in volunteers with some of the military nonprofits there. And Neighborly does a really great job of supporting organizations and helping their franchise owners really get involved in that space. Um, Neighborly is the only franchise organization that has invested in a director of veteran services, and that's me. Um, I think the first step in anything that you're doing in this space to help service members, you need to invest in it. And they've taken this step to really dive in and invest in this because they know that this is great and it's changing the lives of people, and they want veterans to reap the benefits of that. So they support from a financial standpoint. It provides flexibility from a work-life balance. We provide guidance, support, and training. Very high rate of success and home services industry leaders and expertise. I mean, if you think about it, the services that we provide, they're not going anywhere. If you think about your house as a whole, I'd be shocked to see if you don't have electric, gas, heat, plumbing, uh, a yard, or something that needs to be maintained on that house. I'm sure some of you have vehicles that have glass on it, or a house that has a garage door. I'm sure that some of you use maid services or know people that use maid services. I know that there's landscaping that needs to be done. So think about all of those things that are connected to your house, your home, your neighborhood, and how it's connected, and how Neighborly's businesses can help support all of those types of things that need to be done in and around your house and in your neighborhood. So what's the power of franchising with Neighborly? Well, I talked about it a little bit more. It's a proven model for success. You have brand recognition. And brand recognition, not so much with the brand of Neighborly as we're exploring and educating you all on it, but really, I can guarantee that probably 50% of you on the call know some of our brands. Molly Maid, those are established brands. And so what does that do and how does that help you create a bigger impact? Well, you automatically have that brand recognition. You already have the ability to connect with those customers. My favorite part about this company is that you're not just an owner of, let's say, a AirServe, an HVAC company. You're a part of a community. And if you opened up an HVAC company, let's say in New Jersey, under AirServe, chances of you picking up the phone and talking to another HVAC competitor and asking them what some of the tips and tricks are to be successful, they're probably going to hang up the phone for you. If you did that where you called another AirServe in another region, 10 times out of 10, they're going to help you. They know that working together is strengthening their brand and it's helping the community. The other piece is that your customers are not just HVAC customers. I talked about the number of millions of people that were serviced on a regular basis. And when you think about that, think about the referral system that is being created when you're in the home services space. If I'm a plumber and I'm Mr. Rooter and I go into a house and the person says, well, my HVAC has broken as well, I'm going to call AirServes in that local community that is under a Neighborly umbrella and refer them as a service provider. Or Mr. Electric, the electric's out. They're going to do those things. Or there's a hole in the wall and Mr. Handyman needs to come out and fix that. Or they need maid service. Again, unlimited potential of networking and referring other brands. And so a few other things that I love about the supporting cast. Marketing operational standpoint, making sure that you have the right marketing material. They know we are very data driven. So we have our ear to the ground. We understand what the pulse is in the communities, what the need is. You'll never be put in an area where it's saturated by that same brand or by that same type of industry. So the intent is that we're going to put you in an area where there's an opportunity to scale and be successful. And that has proven to be very, very successful over the years. And we continue to advertise it that way because it truly does work that way. I'd like to also touch on the other areas that Neighborly really focuses on from a support standpoint. You see all the different things that are here, the group buying power, and you think about the back end support. If you stop and just think for 1 second about a time where you needed to use a home services brand, and I know if my wife was about to call the plumber, she's going to call Google and she's going to find a plumber. She's going to pick up the phone. She's going to call that. And if they don't answer, she's going to hang up, maybe leave a message, but I highly doubt it. She's going to call the next person that's in line and the next until somebody answers. Well, the beauty of Neighborly is that all of our brands have call centers. And 91% of those that businesses that have call centers that don't miss the first time call convert them to customers. Whereas I think it's around 40% of them, they don't, right? They don't ever get that customer back. So you have to strike while it's hot, and it's an emergency. When somebody's calling to fix a plumbing issue or an electrical issue, those things are emergencies and customers need you on demand and at the ready when time is called. So let's talk about navigating your next mission and identifying your feelings of uncertainty and really focusing on what this could look like for you. There's challenges facing transition. I talked about it. I'll kind of hit on my experience as a whole. When I was getting out of the military, I was a comms guy. I should have had no problem finding a job. And transparently, it was extremely difficult. I applied to like 200 jobs and I didn't get one phone call. I had a bachelor's degree. I did everything right. I had an internet networking engineer. I was in an area where they were hiring, and I just wasn't. I had a great resume. Just people couldn't see my transferable skills. And then when they did, they were focused on my occupation. And I'll tell you, we bring so much value to the workforce and to the business community that is unmatched in the civilian world. And so why do I say that? It doesn't matter how long you served. When you first join the military, you're in charge of yourself. Within a couple of days, you're now in charge of your battle buddy. And you start acquiring those leadership traits immediately. And by the end of your career, you've gone through a leadership factory. And that rank and responsibility and the structure that you've had is really something that is needed in the civilian world and society. And you should be proud of yourself when it comes to the leadership and experience that you bring to an organization and how you can help. And I found in my, 13 plus years post-military service now, is that a lot of service members, when they get out, they get into a company and it's not what they thought it was going to be. There's many great companies out there. I'm not discouraging you from not finding employment. I'm not discouraging you from, continuing education or changing career fields at all. What I want you to do is just be open-minded and realize that there may be a time where you serve 20 years in the military and you come into a civilian sector and realize, I'm going to tap out at a certain rank. I've seen that over and over again about senior NCOs and officers where they come in and there's a ceiling where they hit, and most of them decide, you know what, I should go to start my own business. I have all the skills and traits that could be a successful business owner, and they jump into that space. It may not be always franchising, but they'll always jump into a space where there's entrepreneurship opportunities. And what better way to do it when you have a proven track record? So let's hear from one of our franchise owner and also a veteran. And if you're going to be at the SAC conference in San Diego at the end of this month, you'll get a chance to meet me. I'll be there. I'm excited to go and attend. I've been a big supporter of the SAC conferences for about 10 years now, and just really proud of the work that they do. But you'll have an opportunity to meet Ralph. So let's hear a little bit about Ralph and why he went into franchise and what experience he has.
This offered me a huge opportunity to get back with my family, and that was really, really a big thing.
I believe that when I transitioned out of the military, one of the big things I had to answer was why. I believe that having the small business and starting within the franchise model allowed me the space to start to redefine what that purpose was.
So why is Neighborly a good fit for veterans? Because again, the model's already established. So coming from the military, you're accustomed to a playbook. So it makes it a lot easier. If you're able to follow the directions, you're going to be successful.
I'm a big believer that veterans can do just about anything they set their minds to because of all that goes into taking that time and having that service. What I also believe is that the strength of a veteran is their ability to adapt and to overcome challenges. And the franchise model at least helped me because once I had the template, I can then apply all those skills that I'd learned in the military.
You know, in the military, especially in the Navy, I'm sure it's this way in all the branches, but we really, all of our promotions were based on our ability to lead. Even at the, E1, E2, we were still learning leadership every day or watching leadership. So, the leadership programs in the military are, they're second to none, really. So then to be able to lead people out in the field, we can't always lead them like we're on a battlefield, but we need to lead them, like we were trained to lead in the service. So that's really carried over for me.
And that way I was able to be effective. I was able to put those leadership principles, put the organizational management experience all to use in operating this plan or this operations plan for my business. And that's been, again, very, very, very helpful.
This offered me.
As you can see, they reinforce a lot of the things that I discussed. And before we go on to a little bit more of the ways of obtaining finances, I want to kind of touch back and think about those people that you just spoke to. Those veterans, none of them have experience in those brands. So as you're starting to look at franchise ownership, and utilizing the skills that you had, I want you to think back at your military experience. I didn't know anything about technology or communications, but I was trained, and then I was able to learn the background at it, became really good at it, and then I started to move up and started to supervise those technical and comms personnel. All of our 90% of our business owners have no experience in these spaces, and you don't need to. You need to be able to be leader. You need to be able to manage people. You need to be able to understand process. We have a Mr. Electric. She's in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm sorry, Chapel Hill, North Carolina. She was an Army medic for 4 years, got out, worked in the corporate world for about 20 to 30 years in marketing, and then now owns a Mr. Electric. She said, I got to the same thing that I talked about earlier. I hit a glass ceiling. I couldn't go any further in my career and decided, you know what? I want to try something else. And she started to look at opportunities with Neighborly, looked at all of our brands, and aligned more to Mr. Electric. She thought that was an area that she could, really grow her business. And she's one of the highest producing Mr. Electrics in the country. You saw Gail. She had a dryer vent wizard. Again, those are another person that has zero experience in dryer vent cleaning. But you don't think about how valuable of a service that is, right? We have Mr. Appliance. If you think about appliance repair and the cost of tariffs of the things that are going up, how in need Mr. Appliance is and how valuable it is to have somebody that can repair your washer, your dryer, your refrigerator, your dishwasher, as opposed to buying a brand new one in times like this. It's pretty valuable. They take you through all the training. What I want to touch on before we go into the financing as well is it's a complete ecosystem of support. This past weekend, I was in Dallas. I had the honor to go to an organization that we support. It's called Forge Now, and Forge Now is an organization that basically takes the military model, established by a West Point graduate and his best friend growing up. And they basically went around to all the vocational schools throughout the United States and said, what are they doing wrong, and what can we do better to help serve this population? And so they created a 7-week training program where they immerse service members, and anybody can go to these programs, but a lot of service members take advantage of that to be plumbers, electricians, HVAC technicians, and Neighborly has and facilities maintenance personnel. And Neighborly has a strong partnership with them. We hire quite a few of the service members and technicians through this program because they are on a very rigid program that allows them to learn the skills that they need by master HVAC and plumbers. And they get evaluated on how they conduct themselves, the time that they spend. So by the end of this program, you're going to get a trained service technician that knows where to be on time, that knows the value of work, knows how to interact with the customer. So there's so many values, and that's one of the things that Neighborly offers up as a service to their owners in the service industry. So you kind of think about all the different supporting casts that you have to make you successful. And so there's 7 ways of obtaining financing. So you have self-capital, commercial banking loans, small business loans, and they often have lower interest rates for veterans. Robes, you might not know what that is, but it's a rollover of business startups, like using retirement funds like your TSP or your 401k. Those are opportunities for you to use to allow you to kind of help start your business. VetFran. So I talked about VetFran. Their 34th birthday is coming up in the next week, and Neighborly is really proud because that's who we were founded by, right? We were founded by the owner who founded VetFran. And so Don Dwyer, we continue his tradition and support VetFran. They have a great organization that helps support service members. And you can learn a lot about the discounts and participation from franchises, but they are the ones that kind of help set that standard. And you'll learn more about our offerings a little bit further on in this session. So let's talk about how do you get started. So the next steps are you got to research franchise opportunities, ask questions before investing. There is zero pressure. This is all about you. And that's kind of what I love about the work we do here at Neighborly. For example, if you're married or you're the spouse, you're not going in on this alone. Neighborly is interviewing you just like you're interviewing them, right? So this is a commitment together. And as you're evaluating franchise opportunities with Neighborly, well, Neighborly's doing the same. They're evaluating you. And just because you might have money doesn't mean you're going to be a great business owner. They want to know who you are. They want to know who you are surrounded with, and what type of opportunities are going to make you successful. So I brought up about the spouse piece. What I love about this is that you may be Tommy Jones and you want to go and say, you know what, I want to start a Mr. Electric. And they're like, that's great. Are you married? I'm like, yes. And they're like, all right, well, let's get your wife in here. Let's talk to her and see if no, my wife, she supports me. Don't worry about it. Like, okay, I'm sure she does, but it'll give us peace of mind that your spouse is behind you on this journey, right? So we truly care about the ecosystem that you're part of, and we want to make sure that all the resources and all the environment to be successful is there for you for the taking, right? So ask lots of questions. You don't need to, let's say you're learning about Mr. Electric. Call Mr. Electrics up. Learn about what their experience is as owners. Call other brands like Molly Maid, even though you're interested in Mr. Electric, and learn about the franchising through their model. There is unlimited resources available to you. I mean, we want you to be successful. That's what I'm here for. I'll talk you through any part of the journey, whether that's getting you at this point right here, we're just kind of scratching the surface and educating you, or learning about what we do for our veteran-owned businesses, like branded apparel, putting your branch of service underneath your brand, or putting a veteran-owned business magnet on your truck to make sure that your customers know that you're a certified veteran-owned business, and that creates that connection with the community. So you can contact Scan Here. When you go on there, you have an opportunity to look at a map to kind of see what's available in your area. I'd be happy to do one-on-ones with you anytime just to kind of educate you. Again, there's no pressure. I just want to be able to give you as much information as you possibly can. I want to throw everything in your rucksack, and I hope that you don't need to use all of those resources. But if you do, you'll be educated and equipped on all the things that you need. Ultimately, our goal at Neighborly is to make sure that you are successful in post-military service, no matter what that is. If that's right out of the military, or that's 10 years from now and you're trying to find your way and be successful in another path, we want you to be successful. And that could be starting a franchise with us. That could be working for us. There's many opportunities that are available working with our organization. So as you can see, you can scan the document here. That'll get you an opportunity to connect with us and learn a little bit more. In about 5 minutes here, we're going to start opening up for questions. If you start thinking about questions right now, you can throw them in the chat. I can't see it right now, but I will stop in a second and I'll take a look and I'll start answering those questions for you. I'll also provide my contact information, but if you want to scan and get directly to a franchise coach immediately and learn about it, I highly encourage you to do that. No reason to wait on me, but I'm happy to talk to you anytime and make you feel comfortable about the decisions that you're making. So let's transition into the question and answer session. I'm going to leave this on the final thoughts here, but I'm going to pause right now and I'm going to start taking questions. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second. And I'd love to open it up, Mike, if there's any questions that have come in the chat, you can help me facilitate some of those, or in the Q&A, that'd be great.
Yeah, no issue whatsoever. So more than welcome, as Tommy said, to drop the questions in the chat, or if you prefer, just raise your hand up in the panelist attendees section, and I will call on you to talk. So two different ways to do it.
All right, and I'm dropping my email. Hopefully that you can see that in there for everybody. Looks like
Tony,
you
up
got
to you. Go for it.
You guys got me?
I
Yes.
got you.
Hey, thanks for the presentation. I really want to just touch on a big piece. I've been through this process before, the diligence process with a couple of franchises. I've looked through FDDs and gone through informational interviews with owners. And I think the business models, the costing models, the operational models are not a problem. The biggest ambiguity piece for me has always been the demand signal and sales. Like it's always kind of fluffy because the franchisor can't really commit to anything, can't really say anything about what you can expect. You can have informational interviews with current owners. Their financials look wildly different. I'm just curious from your perspective, like, and it's mainly the reason why I have not jumped into this pool yet. So I'm just curious from your point, and Neighborly seems like a much bigger, more well-known branded franchisor, but still, even then, there's a ton of risk around. Will your territory support the demand you need to grow your business?
Tony, that's an awesome question. And I think it's an extremely valid question. And those are some of the things that I would be concerned with as well. Yes, you should be able to validate. So as a franchise developer, they can't share that information. Like you said,
Right.
They can share the FDD, but you should be able to talk to other veterans or other owners, and they should share that information. And again, that's why I was talking about that model. If you're in New Jersey, for example, and if there isn't a Molly made there, well, then you have to do a little bit more research and talk to Mr. Electric and see what that market grab looks like for him or her, and see how that kind of works. This is not a process for you to rush. I would talk to as many people that you want, and I'd be happy to set you up personally with people that I know that will share that information with you. The other beauty to Neighborly is I talked about it early on. We're extremely data driven, right? So you'll be able to see why that business is being allowed to open in that area, what the market grab is for you, to make an educated decision, right? We're not trying to hide anything. If you feel that you're being hid or people are hiding things from you, I would run. I mean, I'm with you. I agree 100% with you. There's certain things that our franchise developers can't share with you, but our owners will be extremely transparent. So I encourage you, whether you decide Neighborly's the place or Home Services or whatever franchises you were looking at, honestly, if I can be of help to you to connect you with somebody in the area that you're at that has a like type of industry, I'd be happy to, Tony.
I appreciate it, Tommy. Thank you.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Awesome. So 3 questions that are in the question today. I'm just going to start with the first one. Average cost to start a franchise. And Tommy, I know that depends, but can you give them sort of a range, low end, high end?
Yeah. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna do something a little bit better here. I'm gonna share my screen and kind of walk you through a little example here.
And while you're doing that, I'm sure you can do 2 things at once. How long does it take to start a franchise?
It really depends on you. I would say 3 to 6 months is moving pretty quickly. But yeah, they're not going to allow you to open this until the business you're ready to open the doors, right? So you're going to have to pass a few gates, make sure everything is in order. But yeah, it could be as fast, and we've had guys do it under 90 days.
Awesome.
So, you know, it's all on you really, how fast, how involved you want to be. I mean, some people spend 5 days a week going through these modules and making sure they understand every aspect, and they're pushing to move faster. And we're like, all right, let's pump the brakes. And they're like, no, I'm ready to keep going. So, really, it's really on you. You should be able to see my screen right now. Is that correct?
Yeah, we can see it, Tommy.
Okay, great. So there's 2 things here, and I'll drop this in here as well, but I encourage you to scan the SAC conference link that's on the page. But are you seeing my
It has franchise location and territory map.
awesome. All right, so when you come to this one, you're going to come down and you're going to see a map. So I'm just going to use I'll use Dallas, Texas as an example. So when you click on Dallas, Texas, you're going to come up and you're going to see a darker area here. You'll see which ones are available in your area. So you click on this one right here, you're going to see Dallas, Fort Worth area. You scroll down. Right now, there's a dryer vent, there's a grounds guy, a house master, home inspector. All these are available. These are resales that are available in that area. And if you click a different box, these will shuffle and there'll be other availability in each one of those areas as well. So you can kind of see like the Athens area. This is kind of just to give you an idea of what's available. So when you look at this, you got new to territory, you have some of them as shared, so partial availability. What does that mean? Well, it goes by data. So it goes by the number of houses and number of customers that can be serviced. That's why they won't oversaturate a market with that area. So if there's a precision garage door, and I can tell you right now, we don't have one precision garage door available throughout the United States because they're just completely sold out. But they won't allow you to put another precision garage door right next to somebody because they're not going to allow you to take away from that business. They want you to own that market. You can, if there's open space to the left or right of you, you can expand that to those areas. So let's say you own a Mosquito Joe in Dallas, and the North Dallas area is available or Denton is available, then you can turn around and you can buy that franchise area and expand your business north. You can also do that in another location that's not tied to your central location. So just kind of help orient you to that real quick. Now, you talked about finance and investing. So here is where you click. If you come up here, or you can click on any of these right here and learn about each one of the brands. But what I like to tell people, again, I'm a very transparent person. I'm not trying to hide anything from you. When you start thinking about franchises, let's kind of look at the Molly Maid investment. So Molly Maid is one of our lowest investments, but you have a one-time franchise fee of $14,900, but you get 20% off from a discount standpoint. So 20% off as a veteran. I'm not going to use my New Jersey education for math, but I think that's around $13,000. The territory fee is 45 to 70. That all is included in this total estimated cost. So when you start seeing stacked numbers here, don't get scared that you're adding these all up. This is basically saying, depending upon the location, you could potentially, with your franchise fee, soup to nuts, everything you need to start your business to include uniforms. You could be as low as $139,000 financed to open your doors, right? So again, I encourage you to kind of do your research, look around, understand a little bit more about this. If you want to learn more about each one of them, I'd be glad to go through every one of these with you. Again, this is all about education and empowering you with all the knowledge that you need to make the right decisions. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen right there. I'll drop that in the chat as well for you. And any other questions right now?
Yeah, got a couple other ones here for you. Someone asked about getting started with a franchise while overseas because they're currently deployed, like, and coming back. Like, do they need to be here? Like, just recommendations on that?
No. The key is just starting the process whenever you want, right? So you can make it coincide with your transition back to the United States. We have service members that are left of transition that are saying, I don't want to have a gap. So when I get out, I want my business to open up. So they'll backward plan from that. So have your initial conversation, understand what brand you're interested in, start having those conversations now. We'll accommodate the time. We obviously know that there'll be some time limits that you won't be able to join, but we'll help accommodate those times and help you make a decision.
Awesome. Just also a question about the flow of money. Like, so after you do that initial investment, there's a question out there about what percentage, if at all, does Neighborly take as a franchise every month? Like,
Yeah,
how much of that
royalties.
goes? What's a typical percentage?
Yeah, great question. So every franchise, so you, whether it's Neighborly or not, you have a initial franchise fee, and then you have a royalty fee, and that's a sliding scale. So it's usually between 3 and 8%. So the more money you make, the lower that percentage goes down. All right, and that's kind of what you share. Now, as I showed before with that investment, for $139,000, you're also getting all your national marketing campaigns and all your localized marketing campaigns. So there's a lot that you can kind of go through, and when you meet with one of those organizations, and let's say you're talking about Molly Maid, when you meet with Julie Davis, who happens to be an Air Force veteran, and she takes you and breaks it down and shows you, of the $139,000, well, 13's going towards this. This is going for this. So you'll have a clear understanding of what the total investment is going into that for you.
Yeah, Tommy, one other question, and this is not in there specifically, but I've heard it over the 3 or 4 webinars I've done with Neighborly, and there's a few questions in the question and answer that allude to it. Like when you take your initial loan, your initial investment, and Neighborly says you need 139,000 soup to nuts, what do you put in there? What do you add to that for capital wise to make sure that you can feed the kids, pay your own electric bill? Like, is there a percentage for the first year, a percentage for the first 2 years? What fluff do you add so that you can be successful?
Yeah, it's a great question. Obviously, you need to understand your money, right? You need to understand your financial standpoint. If you think that you're just going to write a check, sit back, and it's just going to start coming, I will tell you that you shouldn't be doing business at all, not franchising or anything, right? You shouldn't be going into the business model because you have to work to make this stuff happen. With that being said, there is no right or wrong answer from a percentage standpoint. What I would say is look at what your cost of living expenses are, what you can and can't do, for how long? I will tell you that to break even for most companies with franchise investment, I've seen from 3 months, as fast as 3 months to 2 years, right? But most of the people that I see, they reinvest their money and capital back into the business. So for example, I'll give an example of a grounds guy in Jacksonville. He started out with one truck, some lawnmowers, and he used $18,000 to pay for his franchise, and then he financed the rest of the money. And he started investing all of that back into there. So he kept that loan because it was a low interest rate, and he continued to kind of add to his business from right there. But he had figured out what he needed from an annual, a monthly amount to kind of keep his household running and maintaining the same level of quality of living. And that could be, so I would gauge about a year of that time as your nest egg to kind of help cover that. And some people ask for a little bit more in their finances to cover some of that cost. If you're going to be the owner operator, well, that's a different model because you're going to be paying yourself in there. If you're just the owner and you're going to hire people, that's an expense that you have to consider as well.
Awesome. And that comes to the next question, like how does Neighborly assist, if at all, in hiring that specialized, no one's going to be an HVAC expert probably on this field, right? No one's going to be an electric expert. Like, how do you help them go out and hire that expertise?
Yeah. So we have a platform. Again, everything is available to you. So we have it's called Paradox. They do recruiting. This will shock you, but it used to take about, I think, 10 days for traditional recruiting to get somebody to you as an entry-level position. Right now, using Paradox, we can produce candidates to you in 7 minutes. So it's again all about you and how you want to act and how you want to support and interview these people and go through the process. Now, are they all 100% qualified to do your work? They'll be qualified to do the work, but you have to make that decision on whether they're the right quality of person that you want to be hired.
Right.
And I talked about the partnership that we have in the service space with Forge now. So that's above and beyond those types of things. And that's kind of what I'm here to help resource for.
Awesome. And then one final question. Someone has asked you to re-clarify the partial availability. What does that mean?
So it's by a specific region, and we'll use New York City. New York City only has, it might be 5 square miles, let's say. Well, you're not going to just have one grounds guy in New York City because chances are they're not going to be able to service more than a quarter or less of that from New York City. So that's how the breakout works, right? You have mapping based off of the volume of people that live in that map or households or services, if that makes sense.
Awesome. That's all the questions I currently have. I got to tell you, these were some really good questions out there.
Great questions.
Great
Yeah.
questions. Really informative. Tommy, thank you for your answers and getting everything together. Just as a reminder, everyone, if in the chat, you have some really helpful links. You have the link to the Neighborly website. You have the link right here that's found here in this QR code to go to the post-webinar Q&A to get some additional information. Tommy was nice enough to put his email address in there, and then some other pieces, how to get to the map to find out availability, and then more information about investments. So lots of great tools out there. Again, if anyone in this group is also attending the Service Academy Career Conference in San Diego, we're just coming up on 2 very short weeks away. We look forward to seeing you there. Neighborly will definitely be there, and I'm sure the crew there will be happy to answer any questions that you have in person. Tommy, any parting words before we let these fine folks go?
Yeah, I just want to say, one, thank you for your service. I hope that I've done a good job of helping you understand the myths about franchising, and I hope you spread the word because that's what we need to do is take care of our brothers and sisters and educate them. Again, I hope that you become part of the Neighborly family, but ultimately I just hope that you're successful in whatever path you choose, whether that's employment, education. That's what we feel is most important for you as a as you enter back into society. So again, thank you all for your service. I'm looking forward to seeing anybody that's going to be at the San Diego event. And thanks again for having me.
Awesome. And then just Tommy, you're going to be there for sure?
I'll be there. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Look forward to seeing you there and connecting.
All right.
Cheers. Take care. Thanks, everyone. Really appreciate your time. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys.